We've only been practicing polygamy for 2 years.
Whose idea was it to start practicing this lifestyle?
Ding, 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 you got it, girl.
It definitely was hers.
It was definitely my idea. We were married monogamously. Marriage was great, but I noticed something about my husband. Naeem thrives on love and support. The more that I give to him, the greater he becomes. So what more could he be if there's more than one doing the same thing for him?
Tell us the truth! All right, what's good, YouTube? It's your man, Book of AlphaRonomy, a.k.a. Dr. B.O.A. Yep, I got time today. Monogamy is not manly. It's simply not. Any man who's monogamous has to fight like hell to maintain that monogamy to his woman. Even the best men among us have said it. Tony Gaskin himself has said that he has had to struggle. It's a struggle, it's a battle. I won't say a struggle, but it's a battle to remain monogamous, especially when you're in a position where women are attracted to you. And you know a bunch, and I won't say you know a bunch of women, but a bunch of women know you. It is very, very different because we're not wired to be that way. Now, are we wired to have all these random scallywags around? No, but we're wired to have multiple wives. We're wired to have it, man. We're wired. And I want y'all to understand something. It's not a bad thing. We live in a society that says it's bad. But we'll listen to two people who say this, and they're from two different generations. One is a man, one is a woman. So we're going to listen to the great Shahrazad Ali. We all know who she is, and we know what she's about. But let's listen to her in this interview talk about what I just said. Monogamy is not natural.
You say in your book, there is no history of the black man settling down with one woman and never desiring to have another, before slavery, during slavery, or after slavery. The black man has never been recorded to have just one woman.
Well, I think there's some actual facts we can look at on that. Monogamy has failed for the white man in America.
But this is like saying it's okay.
It's not me saying it's okay. This is how they're living. I'm giving you the history of what their life is. Black men haven't been waiting on me to tell them it's all right to have more than one woman. Neither have white men. You know, this is just what they do. I'm not talking about fornication and adultery. I'm not talking about one-night stands and running around rampant with other women. That's not the kinds of, when I say more than one woman relationship. I mean that before we came to America, our men had more than one wife and family. And we were satisfied with it because we had not met the monogamy idea. We had not met the American white woman who, you know, insists on certain kinds of values in her man. We had not learned envy and jealousy. All right, after coming here, those kinds of ideas were bred into us because of society and the mores that the Americans made up here. And so then we started to have problems with that. But I think that since it is apparent that most of them, not all of them, it's certainly up to the man, do love more than.
Now, I want y'all to understand something. Before every man gets to talking about, yeah, I want two wives. No, see, it's easy to have a wife at home and just have women you play with. Nope. You got to be financially situated enough to be able to take care of those two wives and whatever children they may bring. That's the problem. Y'all think being out here being a player or having a roster or having a stable or whatever you want to call it, y'all think that's the same thing. No, that's not the same thing. We're talking about wives. We're not talking about just random scallywags that you play around with. We're not talking about women who also go sleep with other people and then you sleep with other people and all y'all just a bunch of whoremongers. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you having a wife and then having another wife. That's what we're talking about. And maybe even a third wife. We're talking about wives here. You know what I'm saying? At the very least, we're talking about wives and concubines, but we're talking about wives. We're talking about women who are actively engaged in committed relationships with you. They're committed to you because you're providing and protecting and they're thriving and inspecting and you're doing the things that need to be done to maintain a household. That's what we're talking about. And it has always been that way. And that's why it's such a struggle now for you to just be with one woman. You know the easiest time to be with one woman, to just be intimate with one woman? When you're single. As a single man, is the easiest thing is to be intimate with one woman. Because your entire life is not centered around having that woman around all the time. But the very moment you're in a committed relationship, when you have a wife, and you put a woman in a wife position in your life, At that point, all of the things that a woman doesn't do start to come to the forefront. You start to see the things she's lacking, and you start to shore up those things. And that's just what it is. There's nothing wrong with it. Or maybe you start to see that if it's going to be the close proximity like this, you need more than one around. But this is something that you as a man must establish from day one. This is something you get to do. You don't get to have a wife and then just go sneak around, creeping around like a little boy. You don't get to do that. You're a grown man. Be a man. Establish it from day one that, hey, this is how it's going to be. And that's why you can't legally marry a woman in America, because legal marriage robs you of the right to do that. All right, man. So let's listen to Chuck talk about this, man. We're going to listen to Charleston White, man. And he going to school this big red woman, man. He going to school her, man, to the point where she just going to have to agree. But as always, you got to tell a woman a whole bunch of logic for her to find one piece of logic she can hang on to. But let's take a listen to man. We'll come back and chop it up on the real tip.
You didn't ask me about kings who had many women. So I want to show you an example of something. You asked me about what about women who had many men, and then you specifically brought up Cleopatra, and I spoke to you about how she lost her kingdom because of that.
I have to look into that.
I have. So that's why I'm having this debate with you. That's why I'm having it. That's why I'm having this. You can't no other. That's why even the Queen of England, she died and ruled for many years, had one husband.
That we know of.
But listen,
we know of.
That's what I'm gonna tell you something about a woman. You won't know nothing else about a woman but what you know of. But everything about a bitch and a hoe, you're gonna know everything about her. Not about a woman. A woman is always gonna be secretive and gonna be reign anonymous. The women today aren't secretive and they're unanonymous. You're gonna know about every man she slept with. But the Queen of England, from Michelle Obama to Coretta Scott King, you won't hear nothing about who they slept with. But great men, you will always hear about great men having many and multiple women, from kings and presidents.
That's the expectation.
But you won't.
Just have.
Well, that's not the expectation. That's the nature, and that's the God design of a man. God created a man to be fruitful and to multiply. That's why a woman gets pregnant and remains pregnant for 9 months. And while she's pregnant, a man can continue impregnating other women. She can only get pregnant one time. So it's not designed for her to be with multiple men.
Right. No, I don't disagree with women, being with one man, but I do think that there's kind of like a double standard.
It is.
It's a double standard.
It's a double standard in nature. And we don't make the standards. We operate out of nature. We're humans. We don't get to make the standards of nature. Nature says man is more dominant than woman. Man is physically more stronger than woman. You can't deny
Physically,
that.
not mentally.
And mentally.
No, they're not.
Depends on who you're asking.
Okay.
Well, you go to war then.
That's not. That's physical.
That's mental.
Okay, yeah.
Because war is not mental. War, you stand in the woods. War is not physical, because you don't really get to see your opponent. You guys are shooting from over here.
It's strategic.
Well,
women are going to war.
But women
they don't get
aren't.
drafted. They get.
Women aren't really going to war. Women are going to the military. But women aren't really going to war like that. The numbers, even if women were going to war like that, the numbers of women in the military are just so much smaller than the number of men in there that it would never balance out. But let's finish, man.
Women aren't leaders. Women aren't
sergeants.
Women aren't analytical, right?
That's not true.
That is true. That's why women are nurturers and men are hunters. That's why when God created man and woman, one have a emotional makeup and one have a analytical makeup.
Okay.
Because when you ask a man, hey, how do you feel about this? What is he going to do? If you ask a man how did he feel, he's going to tell you what he thinks. You ask a woman what she thinks, she's going to tell you how she feels. Okay. Why? Because one is a nurturer and one is a natural born hunter. So one is a thinker, an analytic. He's strategic. A woman feels.
But
and you can't lead with feelings.
Listen.
A woman feels, and you can't lead with feelings. Listen, we just saw a young man earlier say that you're emotional when you're in the house with a single mom. You don't understand? You're emotional when you're in the house with a single mom. And the reality is, that's just what it is. You're less emotional when you're in the house with your father. When your father is in the house, man, listen, if you visit your father, you understand that it's a different ball game. When you're living with your mom, there are certain things. Your mom will give you too much of this, or she will give you too much of that, or she will let you do this too much. Or your father, you automatically know there's a different interaction with the guy. 100% different. The problem is women don't know how to do all of the things necessary to make a man say, man, I'm not finna stress myself out, man, for all these years, man, trying to be in the same house with your ass. I'll take care of my kid from over here. So he gonna have a place over here where he could come and actually get what he need from me. He gonna have a place over there where he can actually go and get what he need from you. And I'm gonna be honest with you. If you're a man, if you got a son, and let's say your son is living with his mom. He's little now, 5, 6, 7 years old. If he's coming to spend every weekend with you, and every weekend, spring break, holidays, extended holidays, whenever there's a Good Friday or something like that, he's coming with you Thursday. So he's got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you take him to school on Monday. If that's the case, and you do that, your son is going to be much better off. He's going to be much less emotional than if your son is just off living with his mom. You understand? That's how much the effect of having your father around, that's how much it is. And even if you got a stepdad around, a lot of times it ain't the same thing. It's not the same thing as having your dad around. So a woman don't need a man around. A woman need her baby daddy around. But a lot of times, a woman have a child with a man who ain't even got no intention on being a father. The man ain't even situated to be a father. Or a man just had a child with a woman who's such a 304 that he ain't got no, let me rephrase that, man. Or a man just have a child with a woman who's such a hoe that he just can't be with her. He made a mistake. It was a mistake with her. Now there are some mistakes that can be made. If you strap up and it break, that's different. You understand? But even that, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. It's hard to stop, man, once you realize that thing done broke on you, boy. Because all of a sudden, man, you in. All of a sudden, man, you just be like, oh man, boy, look at that amazing feeling right there. You got to have a well made up mind to do that, boy. I'm telling you. Woo, you got to have a well made up mind. So, but I want y'all to understand, bro, that what this man is saying and what women don't understand is that women are lost without men. So to deal with a woman's standard and her expectation, man, ain't no woman got no standard or expectation for me. You understand? If you like me, and you got to deal with everything that come with me, or you could just be gone. The value of a man is not the value that a woman give him. The value of a man is how he affects the world, how he affects the household. A bunch of women especially a woman who got a baby and ain't never had no man around or the dad around or the dad, man, come on, bruh. Women don't understand the value of a man because most of them never even had a man around. A woman is low value if she doesn't know the value of a man. Because if she don't know the value of a man, that means that she has no value. A woman's value has to be affected by having a man around for her to appreciate the value of a man. And many of these women haven't had that. That's just the reality of it, man. I ain't making it up. It is what it is, brothers. It is what it is, man.